Hello, Gothic literature lovers and horror fans. I am J.S. Larimore, aka Jax, and I am alone in the studio today. But as it is the mid season episode, we are halfway through season one of Ravens and Writing Desks. Today, I'll be sharing some of my favorite clips from my past episodes. So, without further ado, welcome to Ravens and Writing Desks. All right, welcome to Ravens and Writing Desks, everyone. I am alone in the studio today. If you don't know me, I'm J.S. Larimore, aka Jax, and today I want to share some clips, some of my favorite clips from my past episodes with my past authors. And at the end of the episode, I have a big announcement that has to do with my sub goal. If you don't follow me on Twitter or you haven't seen, by August 31st, I would like to hit 500 subscribers. And if I do, I have a big announcement on what I will do for you. So, first up on the list of clips today, I have a couple of clips from my interview with Rosalind Breyer. She is the author of Her Dark Enchantments that came out April 25th. It is a retelling of The Evil Fairy from Sleeping Beauty. It's kind of a dark fantasy gothic romance. If you haven't checked it out already, you can get it at thecrowshop.com. And here are some clips of Rosalind talking about her book and the inspiration for it and what it's about. I'm really excited to talk to you about your new book, Her Dark Enchantments. So tell me a little bit what it's about and how you got inspired to write it.
All right, that's a good question. So, Her Dark Enchantments, it's a dark fantasy novel about the origins of the wicked fairy from Sleeping Beauty. And my main character is Mirabelle, and she is a fairy healer in the Sleepywood Company. And yeah, and she has to be there as a healer, but most of the people are afraid of her because of her fairy magic. And so that's sort of where the story starts out. I was inspired to write this story all based on a poem that I had written. A couple of years ago, I was taking part in this poetry and flash fiction challenge on Instagram, and I had written this poem, and it was sort of witchy and dark, and I just couldn't stop thinking about the two characters that were in this piece of poetry, or it was also sort of a flash fiction, and I couldn't stop thinking about them. And so I thought, I think this has a story behind it. And so I just started exploring from there. I was sort of working on some other projects, and it kind of clicked with me that I always write fairy tale retellings or something to do with fairy tales.
Yeah.
So it sort of clicked with me early on that this character wasn't going to be a princess. She was going to be an anti-hero type of character. So
Yeah.
I had to go from there and turn things around of what I normally do. And I knew she
Very
was
cool.
going to be the villain. So, or at least become
Very cool.
one. Yeah.
That was awesome. I can't wait to read Rosalind's book. I haven't got a chance to get it yet, but I absolutely plan to. It sounds amazing, and I hope you'll check it out too. So, next up on the list, we have L.V. Russell. I had an awesome time talking to L.V. Russell. She is the author of The Quiet Stillness of Empty Houses. This is a haunted house gothic romance story with some Jane Eyre vibes, lots of spooks and scares. You can check it out also at thecrowshop.com. It came out May 15th, so brand new on the market as of this month. And here are some clips of her talking about The Quiet Stillness of Empty Houses and a little story about a haunting that she witnessed. It's super creepy. It gave me the chills to hear it. So check out these clips from L.V. Russell.
Quiet Stillness of Empty Houses follows Theodora Corvus as she kind of travels through a series of crumbling old houses. So she grows up with her grandmother, and she can see things that may or may not be there. So she takes a job as governess to Broken Oak Manor. and she's to look after a young girl called Ottiline Thorne. And there she meets the secretive and aloof Cassius Thorne, sorry. And yes, so the house is just filled with dark, winding corridors, things that go bump in the night, and just secrets galore coming out of every nook and cranny, and she doesn't know which way is up and what's going on.
And that was going to be my next question is, do you believe in ghosts, and have you had any experiences?
I absolutely believe in ghosts. So another one of the things that happened to me in this old house, so I'd go kind of walking with our old collie dog, and I remember walking along this village track, and it had like a stile at the end, and we were in a tiny hamlet, middle of nowhere, no one else around, and there was a woman stood by the stile, and the closer I got, I realized that she was in full Victorian dress, and I could see all the way through her. So me and my dog
creepy.
ran. We were gone.
I imagine that's terrifying. Wow, that book sounds amazing. I also can't wait to get that one. My reading list is so long right now. If you're anything like me, you have a TBR list that you probably will never get through in your entire life, but that doesn't mean you're not there supporting the authors that you love and can't wait to find out what their stories are about. Alvy Russell is definitely on my list. She's an awesome person. Her story sounds amazing, and I will be purchasing that one soon. Next up is Mark Tizura and Susanna Lundow. They came on and talked to me about their project, The Hyperion. It is currently in Kickstarter. Last I checked, they had reached their first goal, and they were looking to reach their stretch goals. So that is kicking butt on Kickstarter right now. I'm super excited for them. The Hyperion is an anthology about denizens of hell and the 13-story building that holds them. So here is Mark and Susanna telling us a little bit more about the project and how it all started. So check this out. You can find them on Twitter. If you look up their episode, an interview with Mark Tizura and Susanna Lundow, their links are in the description of that episode. So just go to my channel, find their episode, and you can find all the links to get more information on when and where you can buy that book. So here they are talking about it. Let's find out more about the Hyperion. So remind everyone a little bit about the premise for Hyperion and what it's about.
So the Hyperion is based off of a prompt I did for a writing game called Fast Prompts, which is every Saturday night. And the prompt was 13 floors. And I came up with this idea of a building in Chicago that appears once a year. And it has 13 floors, and each floor has a denizen from hell. And they'll tell you their story of how they ended up in hell, why they're in the Hyperion. But so everybody kept telling me this is a really good idea. You should really do something. And after I made the initial post, I tweeted out the concept of getting a kickstart, getting other authors together, this, that, and the other thing. And people seemed interested, but then I just kind of shoved it on the back burner. I started working on other things, and then I just happened to meet Susanna, and we started talking. And I told her about the idea of the Hyperion. Of course, at the time, it wasn't called the Hyperion. We both came up with that name. So she said, "This sounds like a great idea. Let's do this." So both of us kind of just took the proverbial leap, and here we are. And we made a main character that is supposed to represent the reader as he goes through the Hyperion. It's a urban explorer by the name of Braden Winchell, and basically you are the writing is supposed to be Braden going through the Hyperion and meeting these characters in the 13 floors and experiencing what is truly inside the Hyperion once the Hyperion has chosen Braden to enter it, because that's the way it works. The building chooses the person to go in.
Oh, okay. I love that.
Yeah, that diversity is amazing. We've got 4, arguably 5, because there's a writer who's from a 5th continent, but who no longer lives on that continent. Continents represented among the people who have submitted. We've got men and women. We've got at least one non-binary author who has submitted. We've got also a huge diversity of approach. There's some that are more traditional, horror approaches, and some that are coming from a very different understanding of the prompt, and a fantastic one.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a fantastic book.
That's exciting. I love to hear that. Like,
Mhm.
there's so much of that because so many people now are working remotely and collaborating remotely that we are
Yeah.
getting so much diversity in
Mhm.
anthologies and projects, and I love that, and I'm so excited that you guys have gotten that too.
Oh yeah, just very pleased by it. Very pleased by it.
So I'm super excited to hear more about that when it comes out and when the Kickstarter ends. The concept is awesome. The way it came about is awesome, and the diversity in the project has me really excited. I can't wait to see more from Mark and Susanna and the other projects they come up with after the Hyperion. So go ahead and check them out on Twitter. They're going to do great things, I think. So next on my list is Damon Barrett Rowe. She is a dear friend of mine, a colleague, and a co-contributor on many projects. I've worked with her a lot. She's also the editor of the Crow's Quill, a magazine, on quillandcrowpublishinghouse.com. It's free to read. It has 4 short stories and 4 poems every month. Fantastic stories from fantastic authors. Damon runs and edits the magazine. She's also an editor at Quill and Crow Publishing House. She's fantastic. One of the best editors I've ever worked with. Here she is telling us a little bit about acquisitions at Quill and Crow Publishing, and just some fun things we did while she was on the show. We had a blast. I almost had to cut it short because we were talking too much. It was so much fun. But check out these clips from her interview, and check out the Crow's Quill. It's an awesome magazine. It's free to read. You won't be sorry. The stories and poems are amazing. So here is Damon Barrett Rowe talking about acquisitions and editing.
With Gothic stories, most of the time you don't really get that in modern settings. So having a submission come to us and it's in a modern setting it diminishes the chances a little bit of it getting accepted, just because a lot of the Gothic feel of it is very atmospheric, very sort of era appropriate for a long time ago. So that's one of the ways that we sort through acquisitions, to make sure that we're getting the Gothic type of stories. For the ones where we have a little bit more wiggle room, that tends to happen more on the magazine. Like, we will publish modern stories much more often there. We have a little bit more room to play. So we will go through the stories and cut out any that don't respect the submission guidelines. So that's the first thing, is please read the guidelines.
Very important.
Oh my goodness. And the thing is, sometimes we would love to accept stories, but because we're trying to make sure we don't make exceptions unless they're absolutely mind-blowingly special, we have to cut things down like that to keep it fair.
Right.
The biggest thing I'm gonna say is, please, if you are submitting a story with some of the trigger warnings that we ask for a heads up on the guidelines, if you don't put it in the query, we're not going to read the story. We're not going to give it a chance.
Right.
So for acquisitions, that's basically what it is. Yes, I do.
So I have some themed Mad Libs here.
Okay, but how free am I to answer the way that I would?
Let's
I'm trying to
keep it PG-13. Like,
All
cuss
right.
words are fine, but yeah, because I don't
will.
put an age restriction.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll do my best.
Okay. Okay. So I'm not gonna tell you what they're called. I'm just gonna, so that they're funnier whenever we read them out loud.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one I think I need is an adjective.
Okay. Hirsute.
Pursuit. What was it?
Hirsute. Hirsute.
H. Spell it one more time.
Hirsute.
Uh-huh.
It means
Okay.
super hairy, basically.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, a plural noun.
Elbows.
Elbows. Another adjective.
Gaunt.
Part of the body, plural.
I mean, you said PG-13, so if I say testicles, that's technically PG-13.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
the official name.
I guess that's true.
Really trying to skirt the limits here.
You have to remember that Quill and Crow is the sponsor.
Ah, okay. I'll be good. I'll be good.
I can edit
Spleens.
any of this out though.
Okay, cool. Spleens.
Spleens. Okay. Okay. Another part of the body.
So many body parts.
I know.
The brain. Why not? Let's see what happens to the poor brain.
Okay, and a noun.
Pizza. This is
Another
gonna be
noun.
weird. I'm so sorry.
It's gonna be so weird.
What was the next thing?
Another noun.
Oh my goodness.
It's so many nouns.
Oh, okay. All right. A chimney?
Another noun.
Oh my god. A hat. I don't know.
Another noun.
What? There are not enough nouns in the world. Okay. Scented candle.
And a noun.
Are you serious? Okay.
I'm serious.
Okay. A grimoire. Let's do a grimoire.
Good choice. One more noun.
Oh my god.
We're almost done.
Okay, oh my goodness. An empty wine bottle.
Okay, an adjective.
Dang, I should have saved empty. Broken.
A noun.
Oh my god. I'm going to develop this like aversion to nouns. Okay, spectacles.
Spectacles. I love that word.
It's such a good word.
It really is. Last one, a noun.
Oh my goodness. Okay. My brain's blanking now. Okay, I'm just gonna look at stuff on my desk. Nothing fits. A mug.
Mug. Okay. Okay. This one's called horror movies.
Oh no.
Here is a list of the most hirsute horror elbows ever made in Hollywood. Each of these gaunt films received a rating of 2 spleens. Up from Siskel and Ebert. The Hunchbrain of Notre Pizza.
Oh god.
The Chimney of the Living Hat. Scented Candle of Frankenstein.
God, what? This is so dumb. I'm sorry.
Invasion of the Grimoire Snatchers.
That's just plain theft.
I know. Rude. Empty wine bottle from the Broken Lagoon. Last spectacles on the left.
What? What?
That's a good one. I want to see that. And the mug of the opera.
Oh my goodness. I was way too wholesome. I could have made this really horrific, but I'll be
You
good.
could have.
I could have. But okay. I'm mostly confused by the chimney of the hat. Oh, is that the one?
The living hat. The chimney
The
of the
living hat.
So, like I said, check out the Crow's Quill. Check out Quill and Crow Publishing House. Go to quillandcrowpublishinghouse.com if you want to submit to the Crow's Quill or to any of their anthologies that are open right now for submissions. If you want to work with Damon, she's an amazing editor, like I said, and so easy to work with. I swear it'll be smooth sailing with her. So check it out. Be sure to follow those submission guidelines, like she said. That's super important if you want to get your work out there. Next up, I have Sabrina Vorman. She is the author of the Bloodbound Chronicles. She was so much fun to talk to, and her story is a loose retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. So if you like fairy tale retellings, you will absolutely love this series. Sabrina's going to tell us a little bit more about it in these clips, so stay tuned. Here are the clips from Sabrina, the first book in the Bloodbound series. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so Blood Coven is the first book in the Bloodbound series, which is a book that has already been out, but it's being republished with Quill and Crow with a new title, new cover. It's being re-edited. It's got new scenes. It's got a lot more to it now, which is kind of reminiscent of what I just said about my writing's changed as I've changed, and that development that's been still ongoing. I think that always is ongoing.
Right, absolutely.
But yeah, it's coming out in September, the first one, and then there's 4 books in the series, so September, and then they'll just keep coming.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about the genre, the characters, the storyline for Blood Coven?
Yeah, so Blood Coven is a dark fantasy. It's got elements of horror. I think the genres you talked about, they all cross over so nicely. So like Gothic literature, horror, fantasy, they all lend themselves so nicely to each other, and you can just play off of them. But essentially, Blood Coven is a very loose retelling of Red Riding Hood. I think all of our stories and like our origin of storytelling comes from fairy tales, and those kind of frame us who we are as kids. And so it was really fun to take a story that we all know so well and expand on it and see what kind of lore I could create and bring into it. So we've got Red, who's the main character, and she doesn't have the best life. It's not easy on her, and she ends up with a coven of witches, and how this sisterhood comes together. And essentially it's a lot about empowerment. That's kind of one of the main elements you'll find in all of my books, but Blood Coven especially. And then there's also a secondary storyline that goes alongside with it, so it's a back and forth between past and present.
Okay.
And so there's a whole handful of interesting, very morally gray characters throughout, and I think anybody who likes werewolves and witches and all those fantasy supernatural elements can find something in this book and the series.
It sounds fantastic. Yeah, that sounds right up my alley. I love all that. Morally gray characters. Who doesn't love those, right?
They're all the rage.
Yes, they are. When you're writing, do you listen to music? Do you like silence? Do you like to snack? Do you not snack?
Coffee and mostly instrumental music. I have a playlist that's about, probably like 4 to 8 hours long of instrumental music. I listen to a lot of music from the show Vikings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of Wardruna. It's not the music that my worlds are kind of based in. They wouldn't listen to that music if they were listening to music. But there's just something about it that just feels very like feral and carnal and like witchy, that it gets me into the headspace of writing.
Right. I love Wardruna.
Yeah, oh, so good.
So good. I know. They're one of my favorites to write to too. And there's another one, Fawn. They're a German folk rock band. And
okay.
Like I do the same thing. I listen to a lot of like mixed genre folk music, and when I'm writing it's mostly instrumental, but like just on the regular, that's like my genre is mixed genre folk music, and people are like, what are you listening to? And I'm like, it's awesome. So too bad you don't get it. Yeah, that's right. You just don't get it. All right, like I said, that is a Little Red Riding Hood short story, or I'm sorry, a Little Red Riding Hood retelling with witches and werewolves and just great things all rolled into one package. Be sure to check that out. I've read the blurb, I've seen the beautiful cover, and I'm excited for that one. I can't wait for it to come out. Next up, we have Rebecca Jones Howe. I had so much fun talking to her. She's the author of Ending in Ashes. This is a neo-noir gothic anthology with 11 short stories that are the neo-horror gothic style. It sounds fantastic. The cover is absolutely amazing. It's very nostalgic if you were into horror 70s 70s paperbacks from the horror genre. This cover will give you that nostalgia you're looking for. Rebecca is absolutely fascinating to talk to. I highly recommend checking out her episode on my channel. So go back and find Rebecca Jones Howe's episode where we jump into horror tropes and just all kinds of fun stuff. Her episode ran really long because I just had a great time talking to her. But here she is talking about Ending in Ashes and some other things about that book. So here we go. So can you tell me a little bit about Ending in Ashes, what it's about?
So it's a collection of 11 neo-noir short stories. So just to explain what neo-noir is, it's kind of like
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, okay. So it's just a collection of 11 short stories. Neo-noir, it's kind of like a genre bend of literary fiction. So I used to write neo-noir, which kind of takes place with more horror and crime and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
the gothic blend of it takes, all the stuff from gothic fiction, the dark atmospheres, emotional distress, some of the paranormal elements, the devious male villains, who sometimes double as love interests. And so all of those things kind of, I blend them into my kind of minimalist literary fiction.
Okay. Very cool. So you said 11 stories, right?
Yeah.
And give us an idea about time frame and some of the themes that are included in Ending in Ashes so people can get an idea of what they're going to find when they get the book.
Yeah, for sure. So it's very modern kind of writing. I've been really inspired by people like Chuck Palahniuk. He was a big early influence of mine.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, I love Gillian Flynn's writing style as well. So a lot of the themes kind of look at subjects like, alcoholism and trauma and like a lot of dark things. There's a few subjects on the feminist sort of subjects, gender issues and things like that, that are all in there. And it's all just kind of like really dark and gritty, but it still has those kind of more romanticized sort of gothic elements woven in as well.
Yeah, and that gritty aspect is kind of expected in a neo-noir style genre, I think. What inspired you to write the book?
It's kind of well, lots of, again, the same sort of stuff that I grew up with. I loved like Beauty and the Beast growing up. I read like a lot of V.C. Andrews novels. They were like a favorite in my teens. Of course, I went through like the whole Sylvia Plath phase, my like Girl Interrupted phase. So it's a lot of like those kind of like the dark girl issues.
Right.
And then just a lot of, I'm really interested in like politics and like modern history. So anything from kind of like the late 18th, like Victorian era onward. There's a lot of that in there. Social politics and like mental health issues in general.
Yeah.
So it's all of that kind of stuff put together with like a gothic sort of theme to it.
That's awesome. I really want to read it. It sounds like
Thank you.
I love the kind of the history surrounding like the 19th century mental health movement and all the dark history behind all of that. It's sad and it's heartbreaking, but you have this like dark fascination with it,
Yeah.
So I love that.
It's weird because like, yeah, there was like the 19th century part and then like the mid-century as well, like the 50s, 60s. And just the whole like institution era of like asylums. I mean, since my teens, that's always been something I've just been fascinated with, and just the buildings themselves. I love watching a lot of like urban exploration videos, various channels on YouTube, and it's just like, it's really cool to just see inside a building and just like, there's still lots of history in there. And Even
Right.
just by watching a lot of those videos inspired a lot of the short stories that are in the collection.
Do you also like to watch like the paranormal investigation series that go into those buildings, or just
What?
the urban explorers?
Mostly the urban explorers. I find like a lot of the paranormal stuff is just a little bit like hokey.
Yeah.
Obviously, like horrible things happen in these buildings, but I
Yeah.
feel that even in my city in Kamloops, BC, we have an old tuberculosis sanatorium. And
Ooh.
in the 80s, it was a place for kids with like autism and developmental issues in
Yeah.
the 80s. So it was a school there after that. And even now, it's just people go there and still talk about these horrendous, awful, terrible things that happened, even though like historically they didn't. And
Yeah.
there's still a lot of like people I've seen. There's a couple paranormal shows that actually visited like the sanitarium, and it just they're all like made up stories that they have on them. So
Oh,
yeah, I just find a lot of that stuff so hokey.
I always wonder how many of those urban legends are true and how many they just made up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I mean, they're kind of fun because it's all just storytelling and it's like urban legend storytelling,
Yeah.
so it's fun. But I think if you dive into that sort of world, like assess the real history too,
Yeah.
like, or at least kind of understand where some of the scary stories come from. But yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, are you a believer in ghosts, though?
I don't know. I think some of I feel like some of that is more like, like demonic stuff. And
Oh,
it's all
yeah.
just yeah, like just like ways of like fooling humans into like going into exploring the darker aspects of like
Yeah.
what's in our spiritual realm. I don't know. It's hard to say and it feels so weird to talk about it, but
All right. Be sure to check out Ending in Ashes when it goes live. I don't have the date on me right at this moment, but I will add it into the description below. I just need to look that up. I can't wait to read it. It sounds fantastic. Rebecca Jones Howe is awesome. She was just a great person to have on the show, and I really enjoyed talking to her. So make sure you check out that episode and all of these episodes if you haven't seen them already. All of these people that came on the show were so much fun to talk to, and all had different information and expertise and wonderful things to say in their own right. So if you haven't seen them, be sure to check them out because they're all fantastic. And finally, my last interview was with Stephanie Contreras. This is such an important interview because Stephanie is a marketing expert and she gave me so much information for indie authors on how to social market yourself and how to make SEOs and TikTok and Twitter and all the social media platforms work for you if you're doing marketing all on your own and you don't have traditional publishing behind you. Um, just a fantastic interview with lots of information. I know a lot of people struggle with marketing. I do myself, and I work in marketing with Quill and Crow, and it's tough. It's really tough. She gave me a lot of information. She's a communications professional as well as working in marketing for Quill and Crow Publishing House. So check out these clips, and then I highly recommend you go and check out her interview if you haven't seen it because these two clips are just a small fraction of the information she gave me in her interview. She very knowledgeable, very informative, very professional. So go check that out after you see these clips and make sure to give that video a like and show her some love because she's very informative. For somebody like an indie author and just primarily marketing and social media, what's some of the most important things they need to know when they're going in and they need to know what to market and how to market themselves and get seen?
I think probably the top thing they need to know is that there should be an air of genuineness to the content that they're publishing. Basically, anyone that is viewing your content, you want to come across as genuine and not fake or putting on a different show than what you really are. So if you are maybe creating content that is uncomfortable for you and it's potentially not really hitting well, then that could be a sign that you're not being genuine with your content. Another top thing that I would highly recommend is consistency. If you are posting content on a regular basis, you're more likely to be seen by the algorithm and to be seen by your viewers. So that consistent posting on your social media is something that you want to try to accomplish on a regular basis, as long as it's not hurting your mental health.
I think that a lot of authors are reluctant to use TikTok because it seems so confusing, but it's really one of the best places these days to sell as an indie author when you don't have traditional publishing behind them. So can you tell us a little bit about how the algorithm works and how to make it work in your favor?
I think one of the things that you actually just mentioned is probably a big part of success on TikTok, which is if you are using the same hashtags. So if you have content that you're creating as an author, and we can use Quill and Crow as an example, some of the consistent hashtags that I use when I'm posting on our Quill and Crow TikTok are things like Gothic books, book recommendations, book talk, Gothic book talk, Gothic romance. So I'm staying within that wheelhouse. If I start posting on Quill and Crow's TikTok hashtags like on say my page, my own personal TikTok, if I started using my hashtags like Hufflepuff or Star Wars or Geek Talk or things like that, then the algorithm is going to recognize that and it's going to decrease the viewership of your videos. So there's a unseen penalty from TikTok for going outside of those wheelhouses because you're clearly creating content that is not what is already consistent with your brand and what people are already recognizing, identifying, and liking. So you want to stay consistent with some of those items. And then another thing that we try to do, especially on the Quill and Crow channels, is that consistent posting. If you start ghosting Book Talk or TikTok, you're going to find that the algorithm is not playing in your favor. So clearly, you know, we're all human and maybe we have day jobs, so it's not easy to be consistent on a social platform. But whatever your consistency is, if you are trying to create a channel for yourself that is thriving and successful, you have to find ways around that. Sometimes I've seen authors talk about, you know, I just don't feel like being on camera today. So there are ways that you can get around that by creating different types of content for your social page that is still promoting the same basic concepts, but you're doing it in a different way. So if you look on the Quill and Crow TikTok as an example, you might see a live reading, someone reading content for you. You might see viewable, like readable content that you as the content consumer can read on your screen. You might see information about our merchandise, our Quill and Crow shop, or you could see someone posting like a narration, a voiceover, where there's an audio that they're using and they're basically just lip syncing to it. So there's a variety of different content things where you don't necessarily have to be the person behind the screen.
All right, that was Stephanie Contreras. She's, like I said, a marketing professional and works for marketing for Quill and Crow Publishing House as well as in her day job. Go back and check out her interview. Like I said, it's full of lots of information that is really helpful for indie authors who might be struggling to market themselves and get themselves seen and get their books out there. So that's all the clips I have for you today. I've done 7 episodes. This has been so exciting and such a wild ride so far. And I'm so thankful for all of you who have subscribed and watched and left me comments and love on all my episodes thus far. And I can't wait to see what the future holds. And I am loving doing Ravens and Writing Desks. And now I think I promised you a big announcement. So I have a sub goal for the end of August. By the time summer ends and it's creeping up on my season finale, I would like to hit 500 subs. I'm getting close to 100. I think I can do it, and I think you guys can help me. And if you can help me and I can reach that goal, I will have my season finale live with guests and games and giveaways. That's right. I will give away books, signed books. I will give away custom art made by me, cosplay art. If you follow me on Twitter, you've seen the stuff I've been making recently for my cosplay for the Ren Fair. I will give away some custom art if I hit my goal. So that and my books. I might collab with my sponsors. We'll see about that, but definitely there will be a live, there will be giveaways, there will be games, there will be guests. It'll be super fun. All I need from you is to like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and please, please share here, share on YouTube, share on your socials, and I'll be forever grateful. And I would love to give away some art and books and fun stuff to you guys. So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed these clips, and I hope you'll help me build my channel from now into the future. And I'm looking forward to building it with you. So thank you for being here for me. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And thank you for joining me on Ravens and Writing Desks.